What's going on, guys? Jeff's Reeftank here with an update on my 300 gallon. I did miss my May update. Month went pretty quickly, but I just want to give you guys a rundown of the happenings with my tank and with my hobby over the month. So I did go to Long Island Aquarium. I was invited by Rico and Jamie. They reached out and asked if I want to go because there was this frag swap happening that same weekend, and we went there the day before. And I have tons of footage on it, but I'm waiting for Rico to drop his video. I would say for a reefer, if you're ever in the tri-state area, and you can have an opportunity to go behind the scenes, even in front of the tank, it's one of the most awesome reefs that you're going to see in your life, no question about it. And just having everything behind the scenes and be able to see what's happened, how the water gets pumped into the system, down to all their filtration and everything, and frag tanks and the whole 9 yards, feeding. It's an amazing, really day that we spent out there. And I want to thank Rico and Jamie for inviting me out. Appreciate it. And we had a great time. We had a blast, guys. So Awoken was there as well. And yeah, that video should be dropping pretty soon. I'm sure it's going to be long, but it's definitely worth the time to look into it and just to experience that behind the scenes. You guys are in for a treat. So while I was there also, I'm not sure if you guys watched my last video. I did have some issues with my QT tank. Some of the corals I got from the New England frag swap ended up being issues. I saw just some of them being pestered by pests. So I tried treating as much as possible and dipping all the corals, but decided to do a restart of my frag tank. So this is after a week or so of just having the frag tank clean. Did a whole vinegar wash and soaked it and cleaned everything out and restarted. And I picked up roughly half a dozen frags. I know it's a little hard to see, but yeah, they had a good selection out there, plenty of vendors. Second year for those guys putting that together, and they did an excellent job, awesome job. So I'll definitely be going back every year to that frag swap, Long Island Reefing Association. All right, other than that, this is the tank. So I did mention that some hair algae is popping back up, but it's not horrible. I think things are looking pretty good as far as coloration, and things are coming along well. So a lot of corals are growing. You can see this colony here, the base of it it had like a nub or two last month, and everything sticking out of that base is brand new growth this month. So 30 days and growth is going through the roof. I have a little coral warfare going on. Some of the corals that aren't placed on the rocks permanently, they're on rubber rock. You can see the bird's nest is showing a little evidence of some battling going on between this acro, and I just separated them, and that's why they look that way, but things are starting to grow into each other. You can see this bird's nest on top. I got this from Tidal Gardens. Amazing piece. This thing is growing like it's going to be it's a melon size right now, but I'm sure it's going to be a basketball before I have to start to frag it up. This Monty here is definitely doing well. It tripled in size over the last few months. So things are starting to come together as far as the corals and the growth. You can see the tip there is growing into some of the rock, and there's a couple other white tips on the screen guy here as well. I did experience some RTN, actually STN, on this pink colony here in the middle. I think what happened was I had a Triton test, and it came back high in aluminum. So I'm thinking that may be the issue that caused it to start to RTN or STN. So, but it seems like it has stopped. So I didn't try to intervene, and I was doing 20% water changes every other day for like a week, and pretty much did 100% water change at the end of the day. Going to be sending away my Triton tests next week coming up, and we'll see what the results are. I do think I figured out what the issue was. I should have brought this thing out here a little bit before, but I'll bring you to my little storage area here. So let's see if the light can show. I think I'm gonna take this thing apart, but this is a magnet, one of the standard magnets that you see I use for feeding my nori. So I had this one for a while, and I'm actually one day I took it off and put it on a table here, and it was dripping more than I thought was necessary, meaning there was a little puddle of water underneath it. So I was wondering why that was, and I picked it up and I pushed my thumb on it. I'm not sure if you could see. There's a little semicircle there. Well, that's aluminum or some type of metal. And what I think, and when I pressed it, whoop, there it is. Water's still coming out of it. I'm not sure if you could see, but water's still coming out of it. Sorry guys, shaky camera here. So what was happening was that water would be soaked into it, and then every time I removed it, put it back, removed it, put it back, or the fish would be pulling at it. I think the issue is that the aluminum, if this truly is aluminum inside, I'm going to take it apart, the aluminum was leaching back out into the tank. So of course that's not a good thing. What I ended up doing, I brought another one like a week or two before I realized the issue. So let's see if I can show you guys what the new ones look like. All right, so I'm not sure if you could tell, but this is one of the new ones, and it seems like they reinforced the middle, the center of the magnet area. So I think that's there to resolve that issue. So if you could see it, it looks a little thicker in the middle. So they may be using the same material, but now it's protected a little better. It looked like that plastic on the bottom was too thin, and it ended up causing issues. So that's something you guys should look out for if you are in a position where you are using those. And I had no idea there was aluminum in my system. There wasn't the first 2 times I did the Triton test. So apparently that just happened, and that's the end result. So halfway through my water changes, I did realize it. So I think I caught it in time, and based on how the acro looks, I think it's, I'm hoping it comes back. So other than that, there is hair algae in the tank, as you could tell, in certain areas. I wanted to see what it would do, but it's nowhere close to the first outbreak I had that was battling for 8 months. It is in certain areas, as you can see. It's not crazy. You know, I think between the tangs and just the overall biodiversity of the tank now, have a lot more corals. They are definitely eating up the nutrients a little bit more as well. I am skimming pretty wetly. This is my homemade skimmate container. So what I did originally was just have a hose go into it, but if you kept it tight, there was seal. The vacuum seal wouldn't allow the skimmate to go in, so I ended up putting just an RO line and make sure it was above the skimmer line. So if it did clog up, or if we did have an overflow, it wouldn't come out the container and basically just overflow onto the floor. So that's a week's worth of skimmate, and yeah. Let's see if we can address the issue. I turned on the light so you guys can see as well. My Cato is looks like, yep, it's at the top now. It's at the top of the refugium. It's coming along well. You know, so with the increased bioload in the tank, again, I was feeding more, and when I was away, I had a tank sitter that was feeding pellets. So I think that's what triggered the hair algae, but I've stopped feeding those pellets and cut back a little bit on feeding, and let's see what happens. I mean, I was listening to K-Town's live stream last night, and Rico made a good point that hair algae is part of the natural environment in a reef. So, as long as it's not taking over your tank and like it was doing before and killing your corals, it's a sign that you can look at and really pretty much judge the state of your tank. One of the indicators is your glass. Is it coming up dirty every few days, a lot more than it was before? That's a sign that you have nutrients in it. So little things like that, little indicators that if I was here, I would have seen when they were feeding the tank heavy, but it's just one of those things you have to look out for. So I'm going to definitely portion out what needs to be fed to the tank the next time I go away. But other than that, I think things are coming along very, very nicely. Honestly wanted to clean the tank before I filmed it, but I said, you know what, let's just show you guys the actual status of the tank. And I also did pick up a clam as well. See that guy there? Because the last one I kept them on the sand bed, and the Maximas are the type that should be on the sand bed, so this guy is a little higher up on a piece of rock. So I'm hoping he does better. I think the other one either got eaten by bristleworms, or actually you never know. So I'm just going to keep my eye on this one and see how it goes. But I did have a huge clam in my 100-gallon, my first tank. It was the size of a football, so never any issues. So it's the first time I lost a clam, but I'm hoping this one is a little more hardy. See how it goes. But yep, other than that, that's the latest for the tank, guys. I appreciate you following along. You can see some good, some bad, a little ugly here, but overall I'm happy with it, and been hands off on the tank for the last good couple of months. So just making sure I keep an eye on things, continue to test. My alkalinity started dropping a little bit just due to the growth, so all I did was go to my Comore, turn it up one notch. So instead of 50 milliliters, it's going 53. So it's an amazing thing. That thing is just perfect device for calcium reactors, so you don't have to baby them. And yeah, other than that, things are going well. And lastly, this is one of my QT tanks. I did pick up some square spot Anthias. There's one male and 3 females in there. So my LFS had them, and I've had these before in my 100 gallons, so definitely looking forward to making sure that those guys are healthy. And I'm going to add them to the team of Anthias that are here already. As you can see, I got a lyre tail here. That's the male, turning male anyway. As soon as the nasal gets out of the way, I got 2 little blotched Anthias as well. That's one there, and 2 more female lyre tail Anthias as well. So here's the other blotched Anthias. So, but yeah, no issues. A lot of people say that you need to feed Anthias multiple times a day. This tank only gets fed once a day. So, and my original 100-gallon tank that I had for years, no issues with feeding the Anthias once a day. So I guess it all depends. It all depends on the type of fish that you get, their activity, and every fish is different. But from my experience, once a day is more than enough. I think if I feed this tank more than once a day, it's going to go crazy as far as the nutrients and the algae. So just keep an eye on what you have. Just watch your systems, and and watch your mine. And hopefully I can set some corals next month. I want to set corals like these Bacillopores from Tidal Gardens. You know what size they sell them, and these things are like a little pieces of broccoli there. They're getting big, so I'm going to be putting everything in their final placements as far as rock placements, coral placements. So have to figure